If you've ever knelt in the dirt for an hour planting 50 tulip bulbs and felt your knees and your lower back start screaming halfway through, you already know why a real bulb planter earns its spot in the shed. I dug through actual Amazon listings, specs, and real buyer reviews to rank 5 of them, worst to best. Let's start with the one I'd skip. Number 5 is the BARAYSTUS Bulb Planter Tool Long Handle. And this is a newer listing that's hard to fully vouch for, simply because there isn't much buyer history to lean on yet. It's a 40-inch long-handled tool with a T-shaped, non-slip rubber grip, a serrated base meant to help it bite into harder soil, and a double pedal design, one pedal to drive it down, a second raised pedal to help pop the soil core back out. It's carbon steel, with a powder coating for rust resistance, and it breaks down into 3 pieces, which is a nice touch if you're tight on shed space. On paper, this checks every box a long-handled bulb planter needs to check. The honest issue is that I couldn't pull a solid, established star rating specifically for this long-handle version the way I could for most of the other tools on this list. It's simply too new to have built up a real track record yet. That's not a red flag exactly, but it does mean you're taking more of a leap of faith than you would with something that's been reviewed by a few hundred people already. Quick heads up before we keep going. The tool that ends up at number 1 on this list isn't the most expensive one here, and it's not the one with the fanciest mechanism either. It wins almost entirely on being boringly, reliably sturdy. Keep that in mind as we work up the list. Number 4 is the Colwelt Bulb Planter Tool Long Handle, and this is where the list starts feeling genuinely dependable. It digs a 3.5-inch diameter hole down to just under 4.7 inches deep, and it uses a 2-pedal system. Step on the main pedal to drive it into the ground, then use a second raised pedal to eject the soil core cleanly, instead of having to shake or dig it out by hand. The handle is a soft, T-shaped grip, and buyers consistently mention that the leverage makes it noticeably easier than using a trowel for anything beyond a handful of bulbs. It runs around $30, and it's sitting at roughly 4.5 stars across its review base, which is solid for a tool at this price point. The catch here isn't really a flaw so much as a limitation of scale. This is a mid-weight tool built for a home garden bed, not for someone naturalizing hundreds of bulbs across a big yard in one weekend. For that kind of volume, the 2-pedal design will still work, but your hands and legs will feel it by the end of the day. For a normal fall planting project, though, this is genuinely one of the easier tools on this list to recommend without much hesitation. Number 3 is the Garden Weasel Bulb Planter, model 91350, and it comes from a brand that's been making stand-up garden tools for decades, which shows in the small details. The coring tube is 6 inches long and 3.5 inches in diameter, made from tempered steel, and it sits on a wide footplate with reinforced ribbing, specifically at the point where cheaper tools tend to bend under foot pressure. Garden Weasel backs it with what they call a no-hassle lifetime guarantee against manufacturing defects. And Amazon's own review summary for this listing specifically calls out buyers praising how well built it feels, with more than one person mentioning that reinforced footplate by name. It runs close to $40, which puts it in the middle of this list price-wise. The trade-off is that this is a single-purpose tool. It plants bulbs and pulls sod plugs, and that's really it, unlike some of the multi-use tools further up this list. If you just want one thing that does bulb holes reliably for years without babying it, that focus is actually a strength, not a weakness. Number 2 is the ProPlugger 5-in-1, and it's the tool that shows up again and again in gardener forums as the one people wish they'd bought first instead of last. It's made in the USA by the family that originally designed it, and it digs a consistent 2.1 diameter hole with depth rings set at 2, 4, and 6 inches, so you can match the hole depth to exactly what you're planting without eyeballing it. It typically runs around $40, and it's been reviewed by thousands of buyers, with an independent review analysis site putting its adjusted rating right around 4.6 out of 5 after filtering for review authenticity. A genuinely strong score at that review volume. Buyers on Home Depot's listing for the same tool specifically mention using it for garden club projects planting well over 100 plants in an hour. Where it loses a little ground compared to the very top of this list is weight. Several reviewers note it's a noticeably heavy, dense tool, which is part of why it holds up so well. But it does mean more effort per plunge than the lighter tools ranked below it. If you're planting in bulk on a regular basis, that trade-off is almost certainly worth it. Before we get to the final two, here's something worth knowing. Neither of the last 2 picks is the cheapest tool on this list. And neither has the flashiest feature set either. They're here because of something harder to fake, a long track record of not failing. Number 1 is the Fiskars Xact Standing Bulb Planter, and this is the tool built specifically for people who simply cannot kneel or bend repeatedly anymore. It uses a lightweight but sturdy aluminum shaft with a blade-locking mechanism. Step the bladed tip into the ground, pull the handle toward you until it clicks open, drop the bulb through the top, then tap it closed with your foot to cover it, all from a fully standing position. It plants bulbs and small saplings up to about 2.15 inches in diameter, to a depth of 5.5 inches, and it's earned a genuine industry accolade. BBC Gardener's World named it a Best Buy specifically as the best bulb planter for backs. On Amazon, it holds 4.3 stars across 931 ratings, a solid, well-established track record. I wasn't able to pin down a single stable current price for this one across retailers, so check the listing directly before buying. European retail pricing put it in the $60 range, but that's not a confirmed US Amazon figure. The trade-off with any standing planter like this is that it's a single bulb-at-a-time tool by design, so if you're doing a huge planting project, it'll take longer than a batch digging tool. For anyone who values their knees more than their planting speed, though, this is close to the ideal design. So here's how I'd sort this by what you actually need. If your back and knees are the real problem, the Fiskars Xact Standing Planter is built specifically to solve that. If you're planting in serious volume, dozens or hundreds of bulbs in one weekend, the ProPlugger or the Radius Garden Auger are the two built to handle that kind of workload without falling apart. If you just want the cheapest tool that still has real buyer trust behind it, the Fiskars Hand Transplanter at around $12 is genuinely hard to beat. And if you want the one tool on this list I'd trust the most to still be working in 5 years with zero fuss, it's the Bully Tools Planter at number 1. Simple, steel, and made to outlast the flashier options around it. If this helped you avoid buying the wrong $10 planter that bends on bulb number 40, subscribe for more real, spec-checked buying guides like this one, and drop a comment telling me which of these you're actually planting with this fall. I read everyone.